Good day everyone. I'm Crystal K. Maraveles. Today we will tackle about the roles and responsibilities of the Philippine judiciary. So we will start the online oath taking for new lawyers. So in this image, another first 2019 bar passers take oath online by Christine Joy Patag. So the Supreme Court in Bank approved last June 9, 2020 a resolution allowing the conduct of the oath-taking ceremony of more than 2,000 2019 bar examination passers on June 25, 2020 via online video conference and linked to a government television network for broadcast. So, the court noted that the current health crisis and COVID-19 pandemic made it not possible to hold the oath-taking ceremony the traditional way. However, the Supreme Court made it clear in its resolution that the unorthodox oath-taking was to be pro hac vice. It means that due to the current pandemic, the resolution was to be exclusive and limited only on the oath-taking of the 2019 bar passers. So again, during the online oath-taking for the new lawyers board passers, it was exclusive and limited only on the oath-taking. Since we are talking about the roles and responsibilities, motherhood is the role of your mother. Does her role come with responsibilities? Responsibility may refer to being in charge of or being the owner of a task. Not doing the task is a failure of responsibility. So once you're not doing your task, it means it's a failure responsibility. In courts, have roles and responsibility too. So, nasad na yung mga responsibilidad sa Supreme Courts like the interpretation of the Constitution and settlement of civil and criminal cases are the rules of the judicial branch made up of the Supreme Court and other lower courts. Sandigan Bayan and the Court of Tax Appeals are the special courts. In this country, the doctrine or principle of separation of powers is observed. The Philippines, as a presidential, democratic, and republican state, operates under the three branches or departments of government. So, balik ra gyapon ni the three branches of the Philippines. The first one is judiciary, legislative, and the executive government. First one, judiciary. So, nabilong diri mo ni sila mga Chief Justice of the Philippines or the branch of the government which administers justice according to law. The second is legislative or the Philippine legislature is a bicameral Congress made up of the House of Representatives and the House of Senate, tasked to make the laws. And so, legislative, so muna nabilong dari ang mga House of the Senate and House of Representatives. So, musa ni sila ang nagahimo sa mga laws. The last one is the executive government, headed by the president, carries out and enforces the laws. So, muni sila muni ang president, vice president, and the cabinet members. Under the doctrine of the separation of powers, the judiciary must remain independent from the other two branches of government. So, judiciary should remain dependent among the two branches. So, the interdependence is seen as a vital safeguard against corruption and the cornerstone of the democracy. Citizens look to the judiciary to uphold their rights and governments to look to the courts to interpret laws. The judiciary must act without fear of powerful interest and without favoring individual parties. A court's ability to deliver justice depends on its power to enforce its ruling. Only of appeal can overturn the ruling of a lower court. Note that the article on the accountability of public officials emphasis is given that a public office is a public trust. So there are so the first one is impeachment. So na-discuss na ni before. Impeachment is, this is an inquiry into the conduct of public officials who may be accused of culpable violations of the Constitution, betrayal of public trust, treason, bribery, graft, and corrupt practices, treason, and other high crimes. The penalty here is only removal from office, which, however, does not prevent that official is removed from being formally charged in the appropriate court, like in Sandigan Bayan. So, impeachment is kanang betrayal of the public trust. So, muni sila kanang while you're in the position, pwede ka diri matangtangan sa imong posisyon. Then, penalty here is only removal from office. So, mura diri na mention. And then, the next is legal orders or processes. So, essentially, only the higher courts have the power to review, modify, or alter decisions of the lower courts and quasi-judicial bodies of the government agencies. The following are the higher courts' power in the forms of rights or legal documents ordering a person or government entity, or lower courts to perform or to stop performing a specific action. There is a legal orders or processes na siya na under ani is na ay quo warranto, certiorari, mandamus petition for habeas corpus, appeal. So the first one is quo warranto, legal action requiring a person to show by what warrant an office or franchise is held, claim, or exercise an action by the government to recover an office for franchise from an individual unlawfully holding it. So, the quo warranto is a legal remedy used to challenge the validity of individuals' claim to hold a public office, position, or franchise. The term quo warranto is Latin and translates to by that authority, by what authority. The purpose of this legal action is to ensure that individuals in position of power have the proper authority, qualifications, and legal right to hold such positions. When the government initiates a quo warranto proceeding, it is essentially questioning the legitimacy of the person's right to the office or franchise. This legal action is typically employed when there are doubts about the qualification or eligibility of an individual in a public position. Next is the certiorari, so a legal remedy commonly used in the judicial system to seek review of decisions made by lower courts or government agencies. The term certiorari is Latin and means to be informed. Again, certiorari means to be informed or to be made certain. It serves as a legal order issued by a higher court, commanding a lower court to submit its record in a particular case for review. This process is crucial in ensuring the proper administration, justice, and maintaining a system of justice and of checks and balances within the legal framework. So, when an individual party files for a writ of certiorari, they are essentially asking the higher court to examine the proceeding of the lower court or government agency to determine whether any legal errors occurred during the decision-making process. Again, a legal order commanding a lower court to deliver its record in a case so that the higher court may review it. This is a court process to seek judicial review of a decision of a lower court or government agency. Again, that is certiorari. Next is the third one is the mandamus, a legal remedy utilized to compel a person, public official, or government agency to fulfill a duty they are legally obligated to perform. When a petitioner seeks a writ of mandamus, they are essentially asking a higher court to issue an order directing the responsibility party to carry out a specific duty or action. This remedy is invoked when there is a clear legal obligation and the party responsible for the duty has either refused to act or has failed to fulfill their obligation in a timely manner. Mandamus serves as a mechanism to ensure the enforcement of legal duties and maintain the proper functioning of governmental and administrative process by compelling compliance with the law. The next is a petition for habeas corpus, literally translating to produce the body, or a legal recourse employed to safeguard an individual's right to personal liberty. When someone files a habeas corpus petition, they are seeking a court order demanding that a public official, such as a prison warden, present the detained individual before the court. The objective is to ascertain the legality of the person's detention and to require the custodian to provide valid and lawful reasons justifying the individual's confinement. Habeas corpus serve as a vital protection against arbitrary or unlawful detentions, ensuring that individuals are not held without proper legal authority, and allowing the court to review the basis for their imprisonment. This legal mechanism upholds the principle that personal freedom is a fundamental right that should not be deprived without just cause. Next is appeal. The appeal process is a legal mechanism by which cases undergo review by a higher authority, typically a superior court, in response to a formal request for a change to an official decision made by a lower court. Appeals serve a dual purpose. Firstly, as a means for correcting errors that may have occurred during the initial proceedings, ensuring that the justice is administered fairly, and secondly, as a process for clarifying and interpreting the law. So next, legal orders or processes is motion for reconsideration. Within the period for taking an appeal, the aggrieved party may move for consideration upon the grounds that the evidence is insufficient to justify the decision or final order, that the decision or final order is contrary to law. So a motion for reconsideration is a legal request by the aggrieved party within the designated period for taking an appeal. So typically grounded on the argument that the evidence presented during the proceeding is insufficient to warrant the decision or final order, or that the decision itself is contrary to established legal principles. By filing a motion for reconsideration, the party is essentially asking the court to review its previous ruling in light of perceived errors or inadequacies in the evidence or legal interpretation. It provides an opportunity for the court to reevaluate the case before the formal appellate process begins, offering a chance for clarification and potential correction of any perceived injustices or legal misinterpretation at the trial level.
Quasi-judicial body is a non-judicial body which can interpret law. It is an entity such as an arbitrator or tribunal board, generally of a public administrative agency, which has power to procedure resembling those of a court of law or judge, and which is obliged to objectively determine fact and draw conclusions from them so as to provide the basic of an official action. Non-lawyer can be part of quasi-judicial bodies. The Philippine Judiciary, Article 8, Judicial Department. The judicial power shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such lower court as may be established by law. Judicial power include the duty of the Court of Justice to settle actual controversies involving rights which are legally demandable and enforceable, and to determine whether or not there has been a grave abuse of this discretion amounting of lack or excess of jurisdiction on the part of any branch or instrumentality of the government. The judicial branch role is the arbiter of justice. That is, and to settle actual controversies involving rights of parties to a case filed in court. It applies the law to settle dispute between the state and private persons, or between individuals who are parties to a case. Another role is to interpret the Constitution and other law, to make them enforceable and binding to all. The judiciary also is deemed as the bastion of democracy, as when people seek refuge when their rights are violated by the other two branches of government. Philippine Judiciary is a hierarchical organization consisting of 4 levels. The present Philippine Supreme Court. First, composition. The Supreme Court shall be composed of a Chief Justice and 14 Associate Justices. Therefore, a collegiate court, it may sit and bench or in its discretion in division of 3, 5, or 7 members. The members of the Supreme Court and judge of the lower court shall hold official during good behavior until they reach the age of 70 years or become incapacitated or discharge the duty of their office. Number 2. What jurisdiction does it exercise? It exercises original jurisdiction over cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers, and consuls, and over petition for certiorari, prohibition, mandamus, quo warranto, and habeas corpus. It also has original jurisdiction over risk of amparo, habeas data, and the environmental risk of Kalikasan. It exercises appellate jurisdiction to review, revise, reverse, modify, or affirm final judgments, and the order of the lower court in
Powers of the Supreme Court. First, powers of the supervision. The power of supervision involves oversight of a subordinate to ensure that the rules are followed. Second, adjudicatory power is the power of a court to decide and pronounce a judgment and carry it into effect between person and parties who bring a case before it for decision. Power of appoint is a legal authority to make another person the outright owner of the property. Power to discipline is ability to help individuals stay focused, motivated, and committed to their goals. Power to admit lawyers. A special power of attorney is a legal document that authorizes one person, called an agent or an attorney in fact, to act on behalf of another person. Power to disapprove, to say that you do not agree with the decision of a lower court. Power of the court to interpret the Constitution has given the court a crucial responsibility in assuring individual rights, as well as in maintaining a living constitution whose broad provisions are continually applied to complicated new situations. Power to settle disputes concerning consuls or diplomats. It's where matters are entirely in the hands of the parties and mediation. Power to settle disputes concerning consul or diplomats. Exercise jurisdiction affecting ambassador, other public ministers, and consuls. Power to assign temporarily judges shall not exceed by months without the consent of the judge concerned. Supervisory power over JBC. It does not specify nor limit the court to administrative and supervisor over the GBC. Power to change venue. A change of venue is when a court case is moved from one place to another in the same judicial system. Power to promulgate rules. The Supreme Court shall have the power to promulgate rules concerning pleading. Powers to decision or orders. To examine the action of the legislative and executive and administrative arms of the government and to determine whether such actions. The Court of Appeals. At the third tier of the hierarchy is the Court of Appeals. CA is a collegiate court along with the Court of Tax Appeals and the Sandigan Bayan. The last two are special courts with special jurisdictions. Power of the Court of Appeals. The CAE is assigned to review cases elevated to it from the regional trial courts, as well as quasi-judicial agencies such as the Civil Service Commission, Securities and Exchange Commission, National Labor Relations Commission, and the Land Registration Authority. Sandigan Bayan. To attain the highest norms of official conduct among official and employees in the government, the Sandigan Bayan is created as a special graft court, having original jurisdiction on violation of Republic Act No. 3019 or the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act as amended in Chapter 2, Section 2, Title 6, Book 2 of the Revised Penal Code. Court of Tax Appeal. The Court of Tax Appeals is composed of one presiding justice and 8 associate justices, all of which are appointed by the President from a shortlist submitted by the Judicial and Bar Council. The Regional Trial Courts. At the second tier are the regional trial courts established in each of the 13 regions in the Philippines. Each RTC may be composed of the single sala or of several branches. First level courts. At the first tier are the 4 level courts consisting of the Metropolitan Trial Courts, which are established in Metropolitan Manila, the municipal trial courts in the city. In every city which does not form part of the Metropolitan Manila,